As the sun rose, the Buddha led his disciples through a dense forest. Where shadows danced among ancient trees, the group paused by a stream, its gentle murmur breaking the silence that enveloped the serene surroundings. Buddha knelt by the water, scooping some into his hands. Watching the ripples spread in perfect, natural harmony. Disciples, the Buddha began, his voice calm yet resonant. Life is like this stream, flowing ceaselessly and adapting to obstacles. The disciples gathered closely, their eyes filled with curiosity, awaiting the profound wisdom their teacher always imparted. Control is like trying to dam a stream with your bare hands. It is futile and leads to suffering. The disciples leaned closer, the simplicity and depth of his words drawing them in like a soft melody. These reflections are not the self but mere shadows, impermanent and insubstantial, Buddha continued, each word resonating like a temple bell. The disciples observed the floating leaf, its simplicity carrying profound meaning as it danced upon the rippling water. By clinging tightly to desires or fears, we create resistance, the Buddha continued, and resistance invites dissatisfaction and pain. How, then, do we let go, Master? Asked Ananda, his voice tinged with earnest desperation for understanding. To let go, one must first see the nature of things clearly, the Buddha replied, his tone steady and assured. He gestured to the forest around them, where sunlight filtered through leaves, illuminating patches of the damp earth. Do you see how the trees grow, unburdened by the need to control where their roots or branches extend? The disciples nodded, sensing the harmony in the world that unfolded naturally without human interference or imposition. Letting go begins with acceptance, the Buddha said, a deep acknowledgement of the impermanence and interconnectedness of all things. Impermanence frightens many, Kema, another disciple, remarked. It feels as though we lose something valuable with its passing. The Buddha turned to him with a compassionate expression, his gaze steady yet filled with understanding. What is lost is the illusion of permanence, he said. What is gained is freedom from the weight of clinging. He picked up a small stone and tossed it into the stream. Watching it sink without hesitation or struggle, the stone surrenders to the water, the Buddha explained, just as we must surrender to life's ever-changing nature. The disciples sat in silence, contemplating the profound simplicity of the lesson unfolding before them. Resisting change is like trying to hold still the flowing stream. It cannot be done without creating turbulence. The device is not the problem, Buddha said. It is attachment to it that chains the mind in suffering. A gentle wind stirred the branches above, the rustling leaves echoing the subtle power of his words. Can you see that the stream reaches its destination not through force, but through adaptability and openness? He asked. Yes, Master, Ananda said, his tone thoughtful, but openness feels vulnerable, as if we are exposed to harm. Vulnerability is the birthplace of strength, the Buddha responded. Only when we open ourselves can we truly receive life's gifts. The gentle sound of the stream seemed to echo the Buddha's words, amplifying their resonance in the disciples' hearts. Imagine a clenched fist, the Buddha said, demonstrating with his own hand. It cannot hold anything new while it remains closed. He then opened his hand, palm facing upward, in a gesture of offering and acceptance, symbolizing the act of letting go. To release control is not to give up effort, the Buddha clarified, but to align effort with the natural flow of life. A cool breeze rustled through the trees, carrying the scent of earth and water, grounding the moment in sensory presence. Letting go does not mean apathy, the Buddha continued. It means engaging fully while trusting the larger currents around us. The disciples exchanged glances, their initial confusion giving way to a growing sense of clarity and peace. What would happen? The Buddha asked. If this stream tried to flow backward or resist the pull of gravity, it would struggle, Kema replied, and its waters would grow turbulent and chaotic, losing their clarity and harmony. Exactly, the Buddha said, his voice filled with quiet affirmation. And so it is with our own inner currents. The forest seemed to hold its breath, as though nature itself was pausing to absorb the wisdom being shared. True strength lies not in resistance, but in resilience, the Buddha said, in flowing with life's ever-changing tides. The disciples felt a lightness begin to replace the heaviness of their previous doubts and fears. Master, Ananda said, his voice soft yet resolute, I wish to release my need for control. How do I begin? The Buddha pointed to the stream. Begin by observing its flow. This leaf, Buddha began, has known sunlight and rain. Its life brief yet meaningful, never wasted in frivolous pursuits. Devadatta listened, the simplicity of the leaf unraveling a deeper truth, its meaning whispering through his heart's soil. Each moment is a teacher, the Buddha said. If we are willing to listen with open hearts and minds, the sun climbed higher, casting shimmering patterns of light upon the water and the attentive faces of the disciples. Just as this stream nourishes the earth around it, so too does surrender nourish the soul, the Buddha concluded. The disciples felt a profound sense of unity, not just with their teacher, but with the flowing stream in the forest. The Buddha stood, his movements unhurried and deliberate, signaling that the lesson had reached its natural conclusion. Come, he said. Let us continue our journey, carrying the wisdom of the stream within our hearts. Guide your child not with fear of the future but with the love that blooms within the present moment. Satala asked softly, but my son resents my absence, and his words are bitter, his heart estranged. In their hearts, they knew that the art of letting go was both a practice and a profound liberation. Another day, as sunlight filtered through the forest canopy, the Buddha and his disciples arrived at a small, tranquil village. The villagers greeted them warmly, offering alms and kind words, their generosity evident in every gesture and expression. One villager, a potter, presented the Buddha with a beautiful clay bowl, its surface smooth and finely crafted. The Buddha accepted the gift with gratitude, holding it up for his disciples to see, his eyes calm and focused. This bowl is perfect in its simplicity, the Buddha began. Yet it carries within it the nature of impermanence. The disciples listened closely, their attention captured by the depth of his words and the serene tone of his voice. As the group settled under the shade of a large tree, the Buddha placed the bowl on a smooth rock. Life, like this bowl, is delicate and fleeting, he continued. To cling to its form is to invite suffering. One disciple, Kema, asked, Master, how do we appreciate beauty without becoming attached to it and fearing its loss? The Buddha picked up the bowl, examining its intricate details, a faint smile gracing his face. We appreciate fully by understanding its impermanence, the Buddha said, knowing that beauty is not diminished by its eventual passing. Just then, the bowl slipped from his hands, falling to the ground and shattering into countless shards. Disciples leaned forward, their hearts open, seeking wisdom to navigate the intricate challenges of life. A merchant named Sariputta knelt before Buddha, his face reflecting both concern and humility. This, he said, holding a piece of the broken bowl, is not a tragedy but an inevitable truth revealed before us. The disciples watched intently, their emotions a mix of confusion and curiosity at the unfolding lesson. When we see impermanence as natural, we free ourselves from the fear and grief it often brings, the Buddha explained. Ananda, his voice hesitant, asked, Master, is it wrong to mourn the loss of something beautiful, like this bowl? The Buddha looked at him with compassion, his gaze filled with understanding and acceptance. Mourning is not wrong, he replied, but it should not bind us. For clinging to loss creates endless suffering. The potter, still standing nearby, spoke up, but Master, I feel pain seeing my creation destroyed. How do I ease this? The Buddha handed him a shard and said, your creation brought joy and served its purpose. Its end does not erase that. The potter studied the shard in his hand, his expression softening as he absorbed the meaning of the Buddha's words. This bowl, the Buddha continued, was always destined to return to the earth, as are all things born into this world. He gestured to the tree above them, its branches stretching skyward, its roots anchored deeply into the soil. Even this great tree will fall one day, yet its life enriches the earth and nurtures new growth. The disciples reflected silently, their thoughts turning to their own fears of loss and change. Clinging to what is impermanent is like trying to hold water in a sieve. It slips through no matter our efforts. Then, Master, Kema asked, how do we cherish without clinging, knowing that all will one day break or fade? By embracing each moment fully, the Buddha answered, knowing it is unique and irreplaceable, yet not ours to hold forever. The sunlight shifted, dappling the ground with patterns of light and shadow, as if echoing the truth of impermanence. Control, like permanence, is an illusion, the Buddha said, born of the mind's attempt to create stability in a shifting world. The potter, his spirit lighter, bowed deeply and said, thank you, Master. I see now that my work remains valuable. The Buddha nodded, his expression serene. Your work, like all acts of creation, holds meaning even in its impermanence. Does this understanding of impermanence not make life more precious, more meaningful in its fleeting nature? He asked his disciples. The disciples considered his question, their hearts stirred by the profound simplicity of his wisdom. Master, Ananda said, if we let go of control and accept impermanence, what remains for us to strive toward? Compassion, understanding, and the service of others, the Buddha replied. These are the fruits of a mind free from clinging. The cool breeze carried the scent of the forest, wrapping the group in a sense of peace and connection. To serve without attachment, the Buddha continued, is to plant seeds of kindness that flourish beyond our control or expectations. One disciple, his voice soft, remarked, the shards of this bowl still hold beauty. Master, even in their brokenness. The Buddha smiled. Exactly. Even in breaking, it teaches us. For beauty exists not in permanence but in essence. As the day wore on, the disciples felt a growing clarity, their hearts unburdened by the weight of resistance. Let go of the illusion of control, the Buddha said, and you will find a path to freedom and peace. The potter gathered the shards, planning to use them to create something new. Inspired by the Buddha's teaching, the disciples watched him, understanding that creation and destruction are part of the same eternal cycle. Creation is an act of letting go, the Buddha observed. For in shaping something, we accept its eventual return to formlessness. The forest seemed to hum with life, its rhythms aligned with the truths spoken under the canopy of ancient trees. May we all learn from this broken bowl, the Buddha concluded, and see the beauty in life's impermanence. The disciples bowed deeply, their hearts filled with gratitude for the lesson and the unfolding journey of understanding. As they departed, the shattered bowl remained a silent testament to the art of embracing life's inevitable changes. Another day, as dawn broke over the plains, the Buddha and his disciples journeyed toward a small farming village. They encountered a farmer, struggling to lift a heavy sack of grain, his face lined with effort and frustration. The Buddha approached the man, his steps deliberate and his presence calm, offering a gesture of assistance. Brother, the Buddha said softly, may we help you ease this burden and share in your labor for a moment? The farmer hesitated, his pride conflicting with the undeniable strain he felt from the weight he bore. Reluctantly, he nodded, allowing the Buddha and Ananda to lift the sack together and place it onto the cart. The farmer sighed with relief and gratitude, bowing to the Buddha, who acknowledged him with a kind, understanding smile. As the farmer went on his way, the disciples gathered around the Buddha, curiosity glinting in their eyes. "Master," Ananda asked, "why did you offer to help, though the farmer did not ask for it himself?" The Buddha sat beneath a nearby tree, motioning for the disciples to join him in the shade. "Control is like the weight of that sack," the Buddha began. "It burdens us, yet we often carry it alone." The disciples exchanged thoughtful glances, sensing that another profound teaching was about to unfold. By opening our hands and hearts, we allow others to help and share in our struggles, the Buddha explained. "Master, does this mean we should not carry responsibilities ourselves?" Kema inquired, his tone seeking clarity. "Carrying responsibility is natural," the Buddha replied, "but carrying it with the illusion of soul control creates unnecessary suffering." The Buddha picked up a handful of soil, letting the grains slip through his fingers as the disciples watched. "An open hand is both a gesture of giving and receiving," he said, a symbol of trust and humility. The disciples reflected on these words, their minds turning to the burdens they themselves had been carrying silently. Control binds us to the false belief that we are isolated, separate from the greater web of life. The Buddha continued, "How do we let go of this illusion?" "Master?" one disciple asked, his voice filled with earnest curiosity. The Buddha gestured to the plains stretching endlessly before them, where the wind rippled through golden fields of grain. "Do you see how the wind moves freely through these fields, unbound and unburdened by the need to control?" The disciples nodded, recognizing the harmony in the interaction between the wind and the swaying crops. "Life flows best when we recognize our interconnectedness," the Buddha said, "and trust in the natural rhythms that surround us." "But Master," Ananda said, "trust feels vulnerable, as if we are exposing ourselves to uncertainty and potential harm." "Vulnerability is not weakness," the Buddha replied, his voice steady. "It is the strength to embrace life as it truly is." A bird sang in the distance, its melody weaving into the moment, underscoring the simplicity and beauty of the lesson. An open hand can only give and receive because it is not clenched in fear or desire, the Buddha explained. "How do we practice this openness, Master?" Kema asked, his tone reflecting both eagerness and hesitation. "By starting small," the Buddha said. "Release a single burden, share a single task, and witness the freedom it brings." The disciples considered his words, realizing the weight of their own attempts to control every aspect of their lives. To let go is not to abandon effort, the Buddha clarified, but to align effort with the flow of existence. The sun climbed higher, casting a warm glow over the group, as if nature itself affirmed the wisdom being shared. "The farmer today taught us a great lesson," the Buddha said, "for his burden was lightened through shared connection." "Master," Ananda said, "I realize now how often I have carried my burdens in isolation, fearing to ask for help." The Buddha's gaze was compassionate yet firm. To ask for help is to acknowledge our shared humanity and interconnectedness. A soft breeze carried the scent of the earth, grounding the disciples in the profound simplicity of the present moment. Control is not strength. The Buddha continued, "True strength is found in surrendering to the natural flow of life." Kema spoke up, his voice thoughtful, "But Master, what if those we ask for help are unwilling or unable to assist?" "Trust does not mean certainty," the Buddha answered, "but openness to possibilities, even when outcomes are uncertain or unpredictable." The disciples reflected deeply, their previous notions of independence and control beginning to give way to understanding. A disciple stumbled on loose stones, his hand clutching the mountain's edge. A tremor of frustration shadowing his face, the Buddha turned to him, his voice steady and kind, carrying the patience born of timeless wisdom. To let go of control is to trust in this tapestry, the Buddha said. To see ourselves as part of the whole. One disciple, hesitant, asked, Master, how do we balance our own efforts with this trust in interconnectedness? Effort and trust are not opposites, the Buddha replied. They are companions, each enriching and supporting the other. The disciple nodded, his breath steadying, his grip loosening, his heart opening to the Buddha's compassionate perspective. They continued the ascent, each step deliberate, their movements synchronous, reflections of the harmony resonating from Buddha's teachings. The disciples bowed deeply, their hearts filled with gratitude for the wisdom their teacher had so patiently shared. As they rose to continue their journey, the open plains seemed to stretch endlessly, a metaphor for life itself. In their hearts, the disciples carried the lesson of the open hand, ready to practice its profound simplicity. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.